Associated Press agency released the news worldwide. The Air Force has reported finding a flying saucer. A flying saucer.
Okay, this is my experience in 2004, where a physical reptilian was stalking me. I don't really know if that was his intention. I don't think that was his intention, because he lives in another dimension. I think he just wanted to check me out. But I didn't take it like that. Because at first, I didn't know he was a physical reptilian that manifested from the non-physical, energetic dimension of the 4D. I didn't know that at that time. It took me a little over 9 years to figure it out. So I thought he was just a dark, evil, soulless man that was stalking me at 24-Hour Fitness Center. Okay, so here's how it went down. And this is the actual picture that I got off the internet. This is the actual fitness center. When I moved to Kansas City, it had already been closed, the movie theater. And then about 2004, they opened it up for a fitness center, but it was a movie theater, but it had been closed by the time I moved there. I think because they built one across the street and up the street, and it was really big, so they already planned to, I don't know how long that movie theater had been open, but it was open by the time I moved to Leawood, and this place was just empty for a little while. And it used to be a movie theater. See? Right there? It used to be a movie theater. And this is where the reptilian manifested, right in the middle of the stairs. Right there. He never did come through the door, and he never did walk out the door. They don't have to. But of course, I didn't know that at that time. But anyway, so around 2004, that's when they went ahead and made it into a 24-hour fitness center. And this was, people in that suburb that I lived in, people did not go to the gym on a Saturday night. They did not. So it was very, very, very dead. So, okay, I can't remember. It was either 6 o'clock when I went up the street, or it was 7 o'clock. I can't remember exactly. All I know is I ended up over at across the street at Walmart either at 7:15 or 8:15. And that's when I called my friend and my sister, and I was like, hey, this asshole was stalking me at 24-Hour Fitness Center. And they were just like, whoa, wow, whoa. And I even thought about calling the cops. I'm glad I did not, because he would have disappeared so damn fast and there would have been nobody in sight by the time the cops came. So, but anyway, funny how I wasn't really scared. It's like I was more pissed off and irritated than I was scared, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of like I subconsciously knew it was not a real physical human being from the third dimension. So anyway, here's how it went down. I went up the street on a Saturday night. It was only, and I want to say it was around late March or April, like almost spring, or late winter. You know, it wasn't real cold outside. It wasn't real warm either. So I went up the street at 7 p.m. I got to the fitness center at 7 p.m. I'm going to say 7 p.m. because I can't remember if it was 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. So I got to the fitness center at 7 p.m. Okay. So I was on the leg spreader machine. I didn't actually put a picture of that leg spreader machine. Actually, I probably would have. I just sort of forgot. I immediately went to the leg spreader machine. And it's right to the left here on back. This is the front door. You go in the front door, you take a left, and that's where the leg spreader machines were. And a lot of other machines, because I have like a bad knee, and if you like, you know, use those machines, it does kind of help strengthen the muscles at the side of your knees. But I was on that machine. I was in 24-Hour Fitness Center no longer. I mean, I sat down at that machine. I was at that machine no longer than 5 minutes. I turned around, and this reptilian just bam, manifested. Now, I thought he came walking through the door, but he did not. He manifested right behind me. No longer than, I had only been sitting there at the machine for 5 minutes. And that whole gym, there was probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no more than 8 people in that whole gym. No more than 8. It was very dead. And there was there's about a group of 4 or 5 other people, a couple machines down, you know, before I actually got to the leg spreader machine, but they weren't even exercising. They were just standing around and screwing off and just talking. And so anyway, I turned around, and this guy, I tried to punch in like 50-year-old men, 52-year-old men, blue-collar worker in jeans. And I could not find any man that resembled this reptilian being. I tried to, but so then I looked up on my wall at a picture of me when I was 25 years old, and I thought, oh my God, that looks more like him than any damn picture I can find on the internet, you know, from a random man. I mean, he just looked like a normal blue-collar worker. He had a blue jean jacket on. He had blue jeans on. He had his hands in his pocket. At that time, I did not see the black leather gloves. He had hands. He had his hands in his pocket. He started walking. As he manifested right behind me, he immediately cocked his head to the left and started staring at me like all evilly, like he had no soul, like he was just like a robot. He did not have glasses on. I think he probably had brown eyes, but I really don't know. But yeah, he started walking with a limp. Like limp. limp, limp. Okay, no, what kind of man is going to come into 24-hour fitness center and if he has intentions of exercising, he's not going to freaking have blue jeans on, and he's not going to have a blue jean jacket on. You know what I mean? He came in there to stalk somebody. Well, no, not somebody. It was me. He singled out me immediately. But at that time, I wondered why he just, boom, singled out me immediately, But I just thought he was a stalker. And for whatever reason, maybe because I was alone, and I figured, okay, so this man's just coming in here, not to work out, obviously, but just to stalk somebody who is alone. And, but yeah, I was at the machine no longer than 5 minutes. This reptilian in physical form manifested from the 4th dimension. Of course, he disguised himself as human. This is a picture of me when I was 25 years old. That looks closer to what he looked like than any picture I could find on the internet. Just age progressed to about age 52 years old. Anywhere between 49 to age 52. Make him look a little more male looking in the face. His hair was just like mine, kind of short, darkish brown. He looked like a blue-collar worker because of his jeans on, and he just walked with a limp. So yeah, so just picture that right there, which is me, a little more male-looking, a little taller, a little thinner than what this, this isn't really a picture of my legs or whatever. But yeah, he was probably about 6'2", not real tall, but not real short. He was very slender, and he walked with a limp. And of course, later, over 9 years later, I realized when these entities from the 4th dimension, or whatever dimension they come from, there's always something very awkward about them. They either talk drunk, they don't make any sense when they talk, they walk with a limp, or they walk like a zombie, or they walk drunk. They bob around and walk drunk. Because they're not from this dimension, they're not physical, they aren't used to being physical, so that's why they can't walk right as a human. They can't walk like a human because they're not used to being physical in their dimension. They can't get it right when they do manifest, and of course they can't hold their form for long. Okay, so here's the deal. He manifested right behind me within 5 minutes. I looked back, he cocked his head immediately and started staring at me like a non-human being. He reeked of 4th dimensional reptilian energy, but I did not know it at the time. Of course, now I know them well, so yes, he gave off so much 4th dimensional reptilian energy. It is insane. But at the time, I thought he was just what Sylvie Brown called a dark, evil, souled person. Because I was reading Sylvie Brown at the time, and everything I learned paranormally, and still am, I experienced. And so I remember reading about what she said about dark-souled people. And so, of course, this reptilian knew exactly. I kept making calls to all these aliens back then, 2003, 4, 5, and 6. But I didn't know it, and they kept coming and giving me experiences. Out-of-body experiences and physical experiences. So, yeah. So, it took me a little over 9 years to figure it out. But I thought, at the time it was a real physical, human, dark-souled, evil-ass being. He totally his eyes was just robotic. It was like there was nothing there, It was weird. But, these beings, they have big personality, but, kind of hard to tell that if they manifest, in physical form and act like a dark, evil robot or whatever. But yeah, so he immediately cocked his head to the left and started, glaring at me and staring at me like he was stalking me. And I thought, okay, well, that guy's kind of weird and creepy. And so I didn't stay at that machine for very long because he was creeping me out. So I walked straight ahead to the leg machine, and here's the exact leg machine I got on. That one right there. Yeah, so that's the leg machine that I got on, and I stayed on it no longer than 5 minutes. And then he walked over to the stand-up leg machine. I'm not sure what the hell it is. I never got on that machine, but you stand up, you turn your head to the left or the right, and you raise your leg up. I guess it may be for your arms and legs too. I'm not sure what the hell it is. But he got on this machine that was straight ahead of me. This one right here. And two, this reptilian being could have been semi-hologrammed, semi-physical as well. I mean, I think it could have been a little bit of both. I don't believe he was a pure hologram because I don't think he would be able to be lifting the bars and shit of the machine. But I don't remember exactly, I didn't see him actually raise or touch or raise anything of the machine, like a physical, part of the machine. But when he stood over there at the leg machine and it was facing that direction, this machine was a little over here, and I was facing that machine where he stood up at. So he went over to that machine, and then he cocked his head to the right to start gawking at me again. And he lifted his right leg up. He was lifting his right leg up like as if he was acting like he was working out on the machine, which he wasn't. I knew very clearly he was there for me and to stalk me. And yeah, it was very, very, very creepy. But it didn't really scare me. It pissed me off more than anything. And but yeah, so if they're a hologram, I don't know if they could just lift their leg up and shit like that. As far as I'm concerned, he was not a hologram. He was physical. But yeah, he lifted his leg up and he kept lifting it up like as if he was working on the machine, and he kept glaring at me out of the corner of his evil ass eyes. He kept glaring at me. And I thought, okay, so that mofo was really creeping me out. So I'm going to go upstairs and get on my normal machine, my elliptical machine that I get on for about 45 minutes. So I decided to get off that machine, the leg machine, because like I say, he kept following me around. And this is the cool part. So that right there, he was able to manifest for at least 10 or 12 minutes without disappearing. So he was able to hold his form for at least 10 to 12 minutes. Then I went upstairs. He left me alone for 43 minutes. It's like he knew my exact routine. I mean, they know you exactly. These reptilian beings, they know exactly. That's why, they bring all that stuff out in your abductions and your lucid dreams and your virtual reality experiences and your dreams. They know you exactly. And your habits and stuff. So anyway, I walked up the stairs because that's where the elliptical machines were. And there was just two girls way, way, way in the back on the stair. Whatever they're called. The treadmills. A couple girls, and like I say, there was like 7 people, including the front desk worker, in that whole place. But basically, anywhere he stalked me, I was alone, basically. So I was alone up there on the elliptical machine. I walked up the steps, right there, of course, because, I couldn't just disappear and reappear since I'm not a 4th dimensional reptilian. Well, I am that, but I'm human too. So I can't just, so I had to walk up the steps, and I got on the elliptical machine for 43 minutes. He left me alone for the whole 43 minutes. I guess he figured, well, I don't really want to fuck up her normal routine, because that's the normal thing that I always do is get on the elliptical for 45 minutes. So he waited almost 45 minutes, and then he reappeared. He disappeared, for that for those 43 minutes, because I know nobody saw him but me. Nobody else saw him but me. They do have a way of making other people not, to be able to see him. But yeah, I'm pretty sure nobody saw him but me. And so he reappeared at the middle of the steps 43 minutes later. Right here, the middle of the steps. He reappeared. But I thought, he was just walking up the steps. But I think he, re-manifested right in the middle of the steps. And then he started walking up the steps, all robotic, all evil-like, all non-human-like, with a limp. And he got behind me. He got behind me like about... Okay, let me see here. I have a ruler here. So this is 3 feet, 6 feet. Let's see. Oh man, he stood behind me. It was probably at least 8 or 9 feet. He stood behind me 8 or 9 feet. And like I say, I was able to finish 43 minutes of my elliptical routine. And I looked back behind me, and he stood there. He was standing there just like a robot. He was standing there, and I noticed he had his hands out of his pockets by then, and he had black leather gloves on. Black leather gloves. But he seemed so passive and submissive and docile. Well, like I say, maybe when they manifest in physical form like that, I guess they can't really do a lot of damage because they can't hold their form for very long. So they probably can do some physical damage if they really wanted to, but maybe it's hard for them to do that, because if they manifest as physical like that, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do some damage physically. But it's not like he was a mean one. He just wanted to check out his, brother and sister. Brother, sister, which is me. From the, because they know I was a reptilian in my past life, a male reptilian. They know I'm female in this life. They know all about me. So, anyway, but yeah, and he just stood there. And I looked behind me, and he was just like looking around, like he was looking over to the left, and then he looked over to the right, and he was just looking around. And I thought, and then I looked at his hands, and he had black leather gloves on. And I was just like thinking in my head, oh my God, he's going to try to like strangle me or something. So I quickly, walked down the steps. I walked back down the steps quickly. Right there. And I told the front desk person, I was like, there's somebody up there stalking me, and that's why I'm leaving. I was mad. And she just looked at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I didn't see anybody come through the door, what you described. She just thought, I didn't tell her that there was this man that had jeans on and a jean jacket. But, I was like, there's this guy that was stalking me, and she acted like she didn't really know what I was talking about. It's because she never saw him come through the door. Because he manifested just boom right behind me. No longer than 5 minutes after I sat down at the leg spreader machine. And then he disappeared. After 12 minutes after he manifested, he disappeared for 43 minutes. Then he manifested again in the middle of the stairway and started walking with the limp again up the stairs. He did not walk like a normal human. He walked robotically, very robotically. And he even moved robotically. Like, if you look at my turtle, the way they move, my turtle is a reptile. That's how he moved, like a reptile. She moves like a robot. Miss Herperton moves like a robot. But, it just seemed like he had no soul behind those eyes, like no personality, you know what I mean? But like I say, I just thought he was a dark, evil person. Like I say, it took me over 9 years to figure it out that he was a reptilian from the 4th dimension, manifesting here in 3D temporarily. they can manifest as completely physical, but not long. Like I say. So it was a matter of like, what, 12 minutes he was able to manifest as physical? And then he disappeared, and then he reappeared and was able to manifest as physical for another 5 or 6 minutes. But yeah, I have another story too about when I was at work. They also like to pose as black people when they do manifest as physical. Yeah. And he was definitely physical. He was not a hologram because I even touched him and he felt physical. But this being could have been a little bit of both. He could have manifested as physical for a little bit and then was a hologram. I'm not sure how it works, man. But it's very interesting. But, I mean, if you're a hologram, you just freaking... It's just like a image that just stays there. No, this dude didn't stay there. He freaking walked around, got on the leg machine, raised his leg up many times. He was not a hologram. But like I said, it could have been a little bit of both. But yeah, so just imagine me looking more male looking. His hair was like that, maybe a tad bit darker. Just more robotic-like. And about age 52. And that's him. That was him. That's what he looked like. And like I say, maybe he's me and I'm him, you know? Maybe that was the one that incarnated into me. Like I say, I don't know how it all works. But I think the aliens probably know more about that. It's probably stuff that we can't really comprehend. Because I know I was a male reptilian in my past life, but I'm not sure how it all works. Because I think I'm a little bit of, like, with my grandfather, he was a reptilian, and when he died, I think he became a reptilian again, and I think he sort of, like, incarnated into me. So, like I said, I don't know how it works exactly, but he died on February 16th, and I was born on February 16th, 5 years later. He died in 1969, no, 67. He died in 1967, and I was born in 1972. But like I said, I don't know how it all works, but I don't believe in reincarnation. That's just one big psychological operation. I don't believe in that at all. Because I know I've never been human, and I've never lived in this physical dimension. I know that. At age 1, when I lived in the projects, I was sitting down by myself outside in the sunshine in front of the bushes. And I was just like, I was 1 year old, sitting on my butt, staring at the bushes and the sun. Well, back then the sun didn't bother me, and now it does. But, and I was just thinking, wow, this dimension is going to be pure freaking hell. I know I've never been human before. So anyway, okay, I'm going to try to think if I'm forgetting any parts. Oh, okay, so anyway, after I barged out the door and I was like, hey, you know, this man is like stalking me, been stalking me for about an hour, you know, and that's why I'm leaving, you know, because I was mad because I figured the dumbasses can have better security systems than that. You know what I'm saying? So I was mad. So then, and I was not the slightest bit afraid that he was going to come out the front door and follow me over to Walmart. I was not the slightest bit afraid of that. It's like I knew he wasn't going to do that. I knew he wasn't going to do that. So I went over to Walmart across the street, and it was about 7:15 at that time. 7:15 or 8:15, because like I say, I can't remember if I got to the fitness center at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. But I was only in the fitness center for no longer than about an hour and 15 minutes. Because, like I say, I was on the leg machines for a total of like 15 minutes. I was on the elliptical machine for no more than 43 minutes. So I was in the whole place no longer than about an hour and 20 minutes. So by the time I made it to Walmart, you know, it was about an hour and 20 minutes later. And I called my sister, and I called 3 people. I mean, I called my mom, talked to her for about 15 minutes, and then I called my sister. And then I remember calling my best friend, Angie, and I was just like, man, this man was stalking me and blah, 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 blah. And they were just like, oh, wow, man, that's bad and blah, 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 blah. And, but now I'm going to try to think if I'm forgetting anything about this physical 4th dimensional reptilian. But yeah, I mean, he clearly had no intention of hurting me because he was so, I mean, because he could have easily, I mean, if he really was a physical human being, I mean, he could have, when I was on the machine for a couple more seconds, he literally could have just, bam, like came after me really, really fast. Well, of course, no human would be able to do that to me anyway because I have very, very fast reflexes. But what I'm saying is you can tell he was just so passive and submissive and docile. He had no intentions of being aggressive whatsoever. And like I say, when they're in that physical form like that, interdimensional being, other dimensional being, 4th dimensional being, I don't even know if, well, actually I do know. Yes, I do know. I do know they can do physical damage, but that's not what his intention was at all. I think he did not talk to me either. It would have been pretty cool, I guess, if he maybe would have talked or something, but he did not talk. And I don't know if he knew that I took it as being stalked. I have no idea if he realized that that's how I took the whole situation. But yes, no, these beings, they can, well, even if they manifest as physical, they probably can harm things physically. But even when they're roaming around your house, ethereally and non-physically, oh yeah, they bitch slapped my lamp over. I mean, they slammed it over with force. And that was about 2.5 years ago, or well, maybe 3 years ago by now. Or almost 3 years ago, but yeah. They can bitch slap your lamp over, all the while remaining invisible in your house. So yes, and I'll do a video about that too, all the paranormal things that they've done in my house. And yeah, so, but normally, I guess when they manifest in physical form, you know, that's not their intention to try to harm you. But they can rattle doors. I mean, they can almost try to open a door. That happened to an acquaintance that lived clear across town, and that reptilian being manifested as a black guy. But I can talk about that later. And then he fell to the ground and disappeared. But, yeah, whoever bitch slapped my lamp over, I know it was either a reptilian or a gray. I could totally see one of those militaristic grays that abduct me physically about every 2 years. And I'm due for one. But like I said, I don't know when they're going to physically abduct me again. But it's been over 2 years. I could totally see a gray doing that too. But I can see a reptilian doing that. I know it was either one or the other that bitch slapped my lamp over. But anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm forgetting. I don't think there is. Well, anyway, I know this being didn't come from a UFO. That's my little UFO right there that my my ET being morphs into in my mirrors in my house or anywhere I go. She'll morph into a little UFO. But I know this being didn't come by way of UFO, this reptilian being, if you know what I mean. He did not come by UFO. The UFOs, I think, they just use those to do a trip on the humans' brains. You know what I mean? To mess with their heads. They don't live on no freaking UFOs. Well, some might, temporarily, and they probably do fly around in UFOs in their own dimension and stuff. But, I mean, most of the beings that I dabble with, they aren't living on no freaking UFO ships. But like I said, I don't believe it's one way or the highway. Some of them probably do fly around in UFOs, you know, in their own dimension, and they're able to show themselves when they cross over into this dimension. But they don't necessarily have to live on there permanently, if you know what I'm saying. I don't think. So anyway, oh yeah, just know that these beings, no matter if they manifest as physical or even if they're in your house as ethereally and invisible, they're not coming by way of UFO, necessarily. Because actually the first time when I knew, when I was about, when was it? About 3 years ago or 3.5 years ago, when I knew the Greys were in my house, I was kind of mad because I knew they were in my house. And I'm thinking, why is there no UFO parked in my driveway? You know what I'm saying? Because they aren't freaking coming by UFO. That's why. So yeah, the UFOs are, kind of a mystery. It's, because they also use the UFOs to just play a trip on your brain. But anyway, that is my physical reptilian encounter by a fourth dimensional reptilian being that manifested here in this dimension in 3D. Walking with the limp, he was about 52 years old or maybe about 50. And he disguised himself as human. I do not know what he would look like in his normal self, but I do know he probably had a flat face. I don't believe he had a snout, whatever he looked like, his normal self in his own dimension. I don't really deal with those beings a lot, the ones with the snout. And this being right here kind of does have a snout, but this being right here. But I kind of deal with the ones that more have the flat faces, and a lot of experiences they have showed themselves to me. I can talk about that later. Those other experiences and abductions where, because I was begging them to show me themselves, and he did. One being, well, actually 2 beings did. Unless it was the same being that gave me both of those experiences, and that's possible. Because they both had flat faces, I just, it's kind of hard for me to remember exactly if that was the exact same being that gave me those 2 experiences. But I can talk about that later, but I think I'm probably rambling now. So, and like I say, this was in Overland Park, Kansas. A 24-hour fitness center, super sport. And I would probably join if one of those opened up here, because they're open 24 hours, and it's kind of fun to go later in the evening and be able to do what you want, like shoot hoops, and it's not all crowded. Yeah, the Y kind of sucks, so I quit the Y. But yeah, there's just too many damn people, and I like to swim, but there's just too many damn people. And then when you try to, get in a lane, you get these little snarly licks from these little 8-year-old punks. But I think it's, per lane, at least there's allowed, 2 people per lane. She was the only one in the lane, but she was giving me snarly looks as a little 8-year-old punk. But yeah, the Y sucks, man, and it smells, and it's just nasty. So I quit the Y, but as of yet, there's no 24-hour fitness center in my neighborhood. But yeah, so just know that if you become attuned to your beings, and then of course, if you're in a trance, even if you have an experience and you're thinking, that's kind of a weird experience, you're not going to realize that it's, eventually if you realize that it's, alien stuff, it's still going to take you a little while longer to figure out, to start thinking back, oh yeah, for all your memories to come back, oh yeah, I remember this experience and that experience. And this experience and that experience, all the way to when you're age, probably 5. But there's got to be something, your brain has to open up. There's got to be something to trigger that. And then you'll start remembering everything. Yeah, so just know that when these beings manifest as physical in this dimension from their dimension, the 4th dimension, or 5th dimension, or whatever, they're either going to walk with the limp, or they may just swing the arms up and back, really weird, like what a human, would not be walking and swinging the arms way up and back, up and back, up and back. That's not how humans walk. But yeah, I heard from this other person that she saw something like that, and that's how they were walking, and she knows it wasn't a human being. Yeah, so most of the time, like I say, there's going to be something very awkward about them. They're not going to walk like a normal human being, and they're not even going to look like one or act like one. There's going to be something very strange, with their eyes. That, like, you can tell there's not a human inside there. Yeah, so they're going to talk drunk, they're going to walk drunk, they're going to walk with a limp, they're going to walk like a zombie, or, many, many, many other different ways. So just know that. Okay, thanks for listening.